Hello, friends and fellow lovers of all things beachy. Welcome to The Beach Speaks, the podcast that shares stories about the beach and our connection to it. I'm your host and beach lover, Paige Friend, helping you reconnect with the beach, return to your soul, and reimagine your life. So grab a cool drink, relax in your beach chair, stick your toes in the sand, and enjoy this episode of The Beach Speaks. Hey, beach lover. Do you have a dream of moving to the beach? I had a dream of moving to the beach for so long, and now I can open my front door, walk down to the beach every single day. And one morning I was sitting on the sand with my eyes closed, tuned into the sound of the waves and listening to what the beach had to say about my journey to living at the beach. And was reminding me of what I had to let go of and what I needed to keep. And how did I get here? When I came back to the house and I opened the door, I glanced at the grand piano, taking up nearly half the space of the small room we call our Zen music library. What's a grand piano doing in our one-story, 1,000 square foot beach house? How did it get here? This piano has had quite a journey. I grew up in a small town in the mountains of central Pennsylvania in a 3-story, 4,000 square foot house that was built in the 1800s. It had a lot of rooms and a lot of stuff. My parents lived there until their late 70s when they finally decided it was time to move. The house was just too big, there was too much stuff, and the winters were brutal. My father was originally from Southern California and was adamant about moving to the beach, specifically Clearwater Beach. I always thought it was funny that the name of my hometown is Clearfield, and they ended up moving to Clearwater. It was quite a job to sort through this stuff, and my mother went through the entire house. Everything had such meaning, and she decided to pare it down to things that would bring her the most joy and would be easy to move. It was a relief for her to just let the rest go. And my father didn't care too much about the stuff, except his piano. It was a Baldwin, the type of grand piano you would normally see on stage in a large concert hall. He bought it when he was a bachelor, singer-performer, living in a tiny apartment in New York City. And my mother used to joke that when they first met, the only furniture he had room for in this apartment was a chair, a bed, and the piano. And now it had its own room, what we called the music room. When I was young, I would lie under the piano on a beanbag chair while my dad sang and played. It had a heavy touch, meaning you had to press the keys fairly hard in order to create the rich sound that I thought perfectly matched the tone of his voice. It was like a part of him, and I took it for granted that it would always be there. Now, as you can imagine, moving my parents from Pennsylvania to Florida was kind of stressful. First, they had to find a place small enough to fit their budget and large enough to fit a piano. So they searched online and found 3 independent living places in Clearwater near the beach, and then sent me to check them out. I felt like I was Goldilocks. The first one I visited was too small. The next one was too big. But the third one was just right. A comfy 1-bedroom apartment that was just enough room for a grand piano. My parents then hired a moving company that was run by a family they had known for decades, so they felt like they could trust the piano would be safe. Still, it wasn't until the movers got it set up in the corner of their new apartment that we all were able to breathe a sigh of relief. I didn't really think about the move after that, until my parents passed away a few years later, leaving my brother and I to sort through the stuff. It wasn't difficult deciding what to keep and what to let go of, but what do we do with this piano? Neither of us could bear the thought of selling it. It held so many memories. But his house in California had no room, and my place in Orlando had no room. We decided we would move it into storage there in Clearwater until we figured something out. Now, to get it into storage, I hired Sean & Sean, a local father and son moving company that said they had experience moving pianos. And it seemed appropriate for a father and son to do the job. It wasn't just a piano, it was a family member. Once the guys got it carefully nestled into the corner of the storage unit, there it stayed for about 1.5 years. I felt sad leaving it behind. Until I met Ernie and decided it was time to make my move to the beach. And the piano was coming with me. The question was, how are we going to move my stuff in Orlando and a grand piano from Clearwater across the state to Jacksonville? We rented a U-Haul trailer, hooked it up to Ernie's Toyota Tacoma, and loaded it with all my stuff in Orlando. Then we drove 2.5 hours to Clearwater and waited at the storage unit for my trusted piano movers, Sean & Sean, to show up. It took Sean Jr. and 2 other guys to wrap it up and roll it up to the trailer. And just as they were about to lift it in, Sean yelled, "Whoa, whoa, 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 hold on. It's not going to fit." We had measured the opening. We needed 6 feet, but we forgot to take into account that when you roll up the door, it takes away about 4 inches. Sean pulled out his cell phone to make a quick call, and soon after, Sean Sr. came to assess the situation and come up with a solution. Somehow, they managed to tilt it at an angle and inch it in. And then off we went to another beach with the piano. The rest of the journey across the state was uneventful, but once we got to the beach, there was the issue of getting the piano out of the trailer. Fortunately, I found James, the one man in town that knew anything about moving pianos. He told me he wasn't an official mover, that his business was tuning and restoring pianos, but he had moved a lot of pianos in his lifetime, and I just had to trust him. As Ernie and I began unloading my stuff, James showed up with his 20-something nephew, who turned out to be a semi-pro wrestler. And the 3 of them managed to get this heavy grand piano off the trailer and set up in a small room in the back of the house. Its journey to the beach and mine were complete. When I envisioned moving to the beach, I never dreamed I'd be taking my father's piano with me. It was so big and heavy. It seemed impossible. Now, when I look at it, I think, yes, it takes up a lot of space. But it's an everyday reminder of how my parents made their dream of moving to the beach come true, and how I did it too. What's keeping you from making your beach dream come true? Whether it's the literal weight and complexity of moving a piano or something inside of you that feels heavy and impossible, it is possible, because when the beach is speaking and you're really listening, you'll find a way. So in the spirit of making your dreams of moving to the beach a reality, I invited our son-in-law Alex over to share his experience with helping people do just that. Alex, a realtor, grew up here at the beach and has a genuine passion for helping people find their perfect beach home. And I think after hearing our conversation, you'll feel like you really can make your beach dream come true. Hey, Alex, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming over to the house.
No, thanks for having me. It's amazing. It was a super long walk.
I know, right? Just right around the corner.
Exactly.
Alex, I'm just going to start off with the question that I ask all my guests is, how is the beach speaking to you today?
Oh, the beach is speaking to me great. We actually woke up this morning. We had our niece over for a sleepover. We had the ability to walk down to the beach, grab breakfast, and then was able to get back in time to do the podcast with you.
Yeah.
So it's been great. It's a little chilly, but nothing stops us around the beaches.
I know. When you came to the door and opened it up, I thought, it's cold.
It's weird. Here at the beach, it's like in the shade, it's like 20-degree difference than standing in the sun, which is nice.
Yeah.
It gives you variety.
Yeah. So, Alex, I brought you on the podcast because you've lived here all your life pretty much and here at the beach.
Yep.
And so many people that I talk to and the listeners say, oh, I really want to live at the beach. It's been my dream to move to the beach, right? And you know a lot about that.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up here, and then we'll just take the conversation where it goes.
Absolutely. No, so fortunately enough, I was born and raised here in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. My parents actually met here in Jacksonville Beach. My mom was originally from New York, Brooklyn. And then my dad from South Carolina. My mom moved down with her mom to take a job here in Ponte Vedra Beach. And then my dad was just here on spring break. And they met in the late 80s. And then I was born in 91 and kind of, the rest was history. So to kind of be a part of my parents' story and building a foundation here, like in the same location, it's just been unreal. It's been surreal. And, my childhood, I couldn't be more thankful. We have a beach. We also have intercoastal waterways. So I grew up fishing. I grew up tracking in the mud, just living a true Florida lifestyle. But also at the same time, it can be a little country as well. I'm shucking oysters. I'm, in the mud trying to foot for clams and things of that nature. So it's really fun. And then my uncle started a restaurant when I was about 5 years old. And that restaurant's called Market 32, which is here local. And I started working there when I was about 13 and really got my hands dirty. But it was nice because I learned the concept of hospitality and business. So we grew his restaurant industry from one restaurant to now 7 here locally. We're only local. We're only going to support our local family. Like, that's just how we are. But we're never shy of opening the doors and allowing people to enjoy our local scene and our local vibe here in Jacksonville Beach.
I think it's fascinating that you have this family business of restaurants and things, because restaurants, I know we're talking more about moving to the beach, but this just kind of made me think about, it's like location.
Exactly.
And you see restaurants open and close and you think, why? It seemed like a good location. And
so people tend to think, restaurants are going to be a home run every time. And we go into them with the mindset of, we're not making money for the first 3 years. And we try not to draw any money for the first 3 years. It just goes straight back into the business. And that's an issue with a lot of new business owners that don't understand the concept, especially getting into a market where there's some competitiveness, but also there's local competitiveness where locals tend to stand out a little bit more to people. So yeah, you just have to take your time and really gauge the market and don't think you're going to be rich on week one. So that's definitely a hard, but restaurants and real estate, they definitely go hand in hand, for the reason being is that when you have a great restaurant, the market around that restaurant for real estate spikes. And it's even with residential, it's commercial, it's the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. So you are in real estate now, and how did you kind of work your way into that?
So my mom and my aunt, who's one of the owners of the restaurant, they both were a team in real estate when I was in high school. And I just really found it fascinating that they're here basically creating a path for people to enjoy their dreams of living either at the beach or in Florida. And to kind of it was neat that we're driving down A1A and my mom's saying, oh, I sold that building, or I sold this building, or I sold that. It's kind of neat to think she had something to do with that sale or that opportunity. And, there's people that still own those buildings that she's helped. So it's kind of neat. And now for me to approach those people and be in the real estate market kind of comes full circle.
Were these business buildings, or were they multifamily?
Yeah,
homes?
Some were business, some were multifamily, some were residential, condos. They did everything from, now back then it was $50,000 beach condos. Now it's a lot different.
Yeah.
But and I just thought it was very fascinating. So at 18, I was still in high school. I got my real estate license. My mom was like, if you use it, great. If you don't, it's not a big deal. It's just something nice to have. So I got my real estate license, and then I started picking up clients in the restaurant, which was kind of weird, but I took advantage of it because here are these high-end, customers that are coming in, or people visiting, going to Mayo Clinic, and they're like, we really want to live here. And I was like, well, I know just the person to help you, and that's me.
Yeah, what a great place to be.
It definitely opened up the door.
So would they ask you, hey, Alex, do you live here? Where's a good place to move?
Exactly. And usually what I say, and it's kind of true, is I know every crack in the road here in Jax Beach. So it's kind of nice. And also, like, I can relate to almost every house here. Like, every house has a story, and I can kind of relate to it because I'm part of the story. And a lot of my clients, they see the story within myself, and they are drawn to it and they're attracted to it, and they want that essentially.
So give me an example of that.
So, right now, I was telling you earlier, I have a client that's 82 years old and the wife is 77, and they're wanting to make their beach dream of owning a house at the beach come true. And it's really never too late. And I was so attracted to that because they're from New Jersey and he's always worked in corporate America. He's surprisingly just retired at 80 and is wanting to live at the beach. So here we are hitting the ground hard, and he's the most excited I've ever seen him. It's great, and it gives me chills even thinking about it, because here's this man, 82 years old, and wanting to basically start over. And his excitement is just great. But then, he'll make the comments of like, yeah, I'm not looking at a 30-year plan or a 40-year plan. Like, I'm more like 10 to 15, and this is where I want to ride off to the sunset. So it's definitely sad, but at the same time, super happy and like engaged, because this is what he's worked so hard for, and it's never too late. And I'm glad he didn't have that mindset of saying, I'm already 82 years old. Like, I'm going to stay with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice, and they're excited.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's that dream come true. I know me 14 years in Orlando thinking, I got to get to the beach. I have got to get to the beach.
Yeah. And you did it.
Yeah, I did it. I know. And I'm at 82.
Exactly, which is great.
Well, I was just thinking, there are so many people of all different ages and backgrounds and stuff. What have you come across? Like, I don't know, do you get any young couples or young people?
Definitely get younger people. It may not be their first home. A lot of younger people will start, in condos, and we use a term called over the ditch, which is just, it's not even that far from the beach. Like, if it's probably 2 miles from the beach rather than 0.5 miles is our distance, or even if that. So our beach is definitely very small, but then you just go over the ditch and there's San Pablo, there's Hodges, and that's where a lot of younger couples will start their families, or like just start their roots. And then they work their way back to the beach. Everybody tries to work their way back to the beach more so for the convenience and the safety. There's not really much hustle and bustle at the beach. You can ride golf carts, you can ride your bike, you can essentially walk anywhere, which is really the best convenience. And it's great for kids. So you do see a lot of younger couples and families moving to the beach.
Yeah. That's what's great about our neighborhood, is because the kids go to elementary school down the street.
Exactly.
You ride your golf cart down there, and then just another block down, you've got the middle school, right? And then the high school's right there too. You went to that high school, right?
Yep. I went to Fletcher High School, class of 2010.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to that high school. I went to that middle school, Fletcher Middle School, and then I went to Seabreeze Elementary, which is in South Jacks Beach.
Okay.
And that school, I think, is, I want to say it's like 60 or 70 years old, that elementary school. And then Fletcher in itself, I think, was built in the 40s. And it's nice because you can kind of see all the pictures and the history and how the beach has grown since then. You know, there's a picture of Fletcher, and it's like a standalone building in a field with no homes around it. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. Alan, who lives around the corner and across the street from you all, he was saying that he bought his home there years ago at a time where, you know, nobody really wanted to live at Jacks Beach. So home prices were pretty low.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like every beach community, people, word gets out.
Yeah. You know, definitely word gets out, and we're fortunate here to still, like, we're in Florida, and I will say we're probably the most affordable beach community in Florida. So that's a good sign. And I think that's what drew a lot of people to our location. And then over the past 2 years, prices did skyrocket, but it's still no comparison to South Florida or like West Palm, Tampa area. Like, our prices are still very reasonable, and it checks all the boxes.
Yeah, and we have different neighborhoods, and we were talking about Jacksonville Beach, but we have two other beaches north of us, you know, like a mile, and you got Neptune, and another mile you got Atlantic, and they all have a different kind of vibe. And then you go south, and you know, you're in St. Augustine, you're
Ponte Vedra, St. Augustine.
Right now the TPC is going on, you know.
Yeah. It's madness. And we do have a lot of attractions that bring people here, like you mentioned, TPC. But it's weird, like, even the TPC crowd that travel for it to come see it, they don't make their way to, like, Jacks Beach, Neptune Beach, Atlantic Beach. They tend to always stay in Ponte Vedra. And then they look at real estate in Ponte Vedra, which real estate in Ponte Vedra is crazy expensive. So there's definitely options. You know, you could definitely be a big spender in Ponte Vedra. Jacks Beach is very mild. Neptune Beach, a little bit more expensive. Atlantic Beach has probably more variety than anything. So you could be on the ocean spending tons of money, or you could be 5, 6, 7 blocks and still be in the median range.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me is the beach itself is so different in each of those spots.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here, the pier is right here, and we have a little more.
It's a little busy.
Yeah. Well, but the nice thing about it, when the tide is out, and listen, you've got a lot of beach.
Exactly.
So it doesn't seem like it's like super crowded. You know, when I walk the beach, I like to go up to Neptune Beach and on up that way, and just even like the sand starts to change. Well, it's about the same when we're going north, but as I notice as you go south, the sand kind of changes.
Yeah, it's like orange, like shellish.
It's more grainy, and we've been down to Mickler's Beach, right? Yeah. Mickler's is what we call, to search for shark's teeth.
Yeah, it's weird. So bringing up Mickler's, so it's Mickler's.
Is it Mickler's?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's why I was asking you.
Yeah,
okay.
No worries. Everybody gets it confused because it's spelled Mickler.
Right.
But it's
well, thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
I just thought a local kid will help you.
Well, Ernie's always called it Mickler's Beach, so I thought, okay, well.
Yeah. No, it's funny. So the Mickler family grew up in Ponte Vedra, like in the Palm Valley area. And that's where my family, they live on Roscoe, which is right on the river. And the Mickler family had property just on the other side of the road, but like tons of it. And then they actually owned where Mickler's Landing is, where the beach access is. And they donated it to the city for public beach access.
That's great, because that was another thing I was going to ask you about. And what's kind of nice for the homeowner, but not so nice for public access, is that you get those areas where people have beautiful homes, and they feel like that's kind of like their private beach, right?
It is, yeah.
But it's really not. I
mean,
mean,
roughly about every 20 house so it's Ponte Vedra Boulevard is what it's called, and then you have these gorgeous homes on the ocean and then gorgeous homes across from the ocean, but about every 20 houses there's a public beach access, but there's no parking. And there's really an easement in these yards that just aren't marked off or anything for parking. So like technically, like I know I could park there because of an easement, but somebody visiting or somebody's not going to park in somebody's nice grass right in front of somebody's house.
Yeah.
To go to the beach. But there are like about every 20 houses, there's a public beach access. Mm-hmm. But still, there's just no parking. So Ponte Vedra has Michler's, and that'll probably be the go-to spot. And then just down a little bit, you have the Guana Preserve.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat too.
Yeah, that is. So, getting back to like realizing your beach dream, if I came to you, I'm sitting at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Alex, I'm visiting. I really wanted to live at this beach. What would you tell me first? Like, I don't even know how to do this.
Yeah. So I would basically say, like, let's get familiar with the area. Let's see what fits you, your situation, whether you're a family of 6 or just a couple that want, to just vacation here, or if you want to make this a permanent resident. Just basically get familiar with the locations, because each location here at the beach, I say locations like they're super far. They're not far at all, but they offer something a little bit different. And there's definitely different opportunities. Like if you think it's going to be a vacation home, let's explore vacation rentals in the meantime. That way your property is being utilized and it's essentially being paid for by renting it out. So we definitely explore those options first and then narrow down kind of what our mindset's looking towards. And then, there's finance options, and there's great finance options here in Florida with local lenders. There's as little as 5% down or even 3% down just to get you started. A lot of people get scared with financing because of interest rates and everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
But the thing is you can always change financing later. You can always tweak it. You can always do this. You can always do that. My goal, and I tell people, is just get the property because you don't want to miss out on any opportunity, especially with our community kind of growing the way that it is. So let's get the property, secure it, and then kind of worry about the different finance techniques down the road. So I just try to tell people, go as little money down as possible, get it, and then reevaluate in a year or two.
When you say if the goal is to live here permanently or use it as an investment,
exactly,
I'm seeing that investment side coming in more than the permanent home thing.
It is, and thankfully, so Jack's Beach allows vacation rentals, which is fine because we have the amenities to kind of support it with the pavilion, the pier, restaurants that are being built downtown. So we have the amenities to really support it, whereas at Neptune Beach and Atlantic Beach, they're a little bit smaller beaches. They don't allow vacation rentals.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So their shortest term rental, I think, in Neptune Beach is 28 days. So in order to do short term, the shortest term is 28, where in Jack's Beach, the shortest term, I believe, is 3 days. So it's definitely different. So somebody that's coming down for a week would more likely stay in Jack's Beach rather than Neptune or Atlantic Beach. And Atlantic Beach, I don't think, offers any short-term rentals. I think 6 months is their shortest term.
Yeah.
And it's nice, you want the variety because bringing people here from out of town, some people think, like, is that going to hurt the community? Is that going to... But honestly, it doesn't. It supports it. It helps the local businesses. It helps Jack's Beach in itself in our area thrive because it's giving our business owners an opportunity to succeed.
Yeah.
So it's nice, and give them, give the visitor a little piece of our paradise. So you can't always look at it bad. We just want people to respect our community.
Yeah.
And that's where you kind of get into that catch-22.
Right across the street, we have an Airbnb. It's now been sold.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're going to continue that or not, but there are always people there. During COVID, a couple with the 2 small children that came down from Manhattan, and they stayed there for like 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so cute because, it gives families or people the opportunity to have a little slice of the beach and all that. And just watching these kids, they were just running around the front yard. They had like a slip and slide. And I said, there's the beach right down the street. And they never are around nature.
Well, to be able to walk out the front door like on a quiet evening and hear the waves splash, like that's,
Oh, I know.
you can't beat that anywhere. And it's just like, that's where we're most fortunate, to where we can hear nature and the earth speak to us. And I'm sure people visit and they experience that, and obviously it has to give them chills, because you don't, like when you're in big cities, all you're hearing are cars parking, brakes squeaking, and horns blowing. It just breaks up your like peacefulness in a sense. So where I try to, like, when I go on beach walks, I'm sold on the beach by people's reaction. I'm a big people watcher, and just to be able to walk down the beach and see everybody collectively happy, no matter if the dad is mad that he's lugging chairs, or he's still happy at heart, you know. But when you see kids running around and moms chasing kids, and just having that sense of freedom is just insane to me. You know, you really can't do that at Disney World. You really can't do that in New York City. You really can't do it unless you're at the beach.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
And you got little ones.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, I got 3 little ones, 9, 6, and a 6-month-old. So I'm pretty spread out, but they've all grown up at the beach.
So did they just wake up this morning and say, "Dad, take us to the beach"?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like, hey, we want to go on a walk to the beach.
Yep.
Of course, I got hungry and I was like, well, we can't stay long. I have to eat.
Yeah. Fortunately, along the way, there are coffee shops and places.
Exactly.
Right, you know,
and it's great. It's amazing. All local too, which is very nice.
Yeah.
And that's another subject I want to touch on. It's unique too. It's a lot of like chain restaurants tend to not really make it at our beach. You know, it's all locally owned, and our community backs the locally owned businesses. So we get chains every once in a while that just kind of fizzle out after about a year or two. And you know, I really don't mind that, you know, because these chains, they come into our beach community with only one thing in mind, and that's to make a ton of money. Mm-hmm. And they don't really respect the area, respect the location. So I'm glad we're more local driven, because it definitely makes our community pop a little better.
Yeah, I think that's a big draw to our area. And I honestly didn't know anything about Jacksonville Beach until I met Ernie. And I thought, Jacksonville Beach, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Because I thought we were going to be moving to St. Pete, Clearwater. Now, you know, the Gulf side. Okay,
sure.
I can do that.
Yeah.
And I've been going to Cocoa Beach and stuff on this side. But coming up here, I thought, wow, it really kind of felt like a neighborhood kind of feel. And then, and then you had all the beach activity and stuff. And when you say the small businesses and things, as you know, we like to go to the Blue Jay listening room. That is so special because Kara, the owner, is from the area. She knows all of these fabulous musicians. Yep. And it's just this like tiny little nightclub where people gather and you just sit, and there's no talking. You just sit and listen. And we tell everybody who's visiting and stuff, hey, check out the Blue Jay listening room, because it's so unique.
Definitely. And the thing is like, to find something that like that of that magnitude anywhere else would be very difficult. Yeah. Because it's like very true and raw in a sense, to where you're really feeling the emotions come out. And it's really it has to do with your podcast. It's really the beach speaking through music. Yeah. So it's really cool.
That's a good thing. Yeah, the beach speaking through music, for sure. So that kind of beach might not be for everybody. I mean, some people may want more of a Daytona kind of thing. And so I imagine the people that come to you are those that kind of want that. When you think of the beach, you think of relaxing and all that sort of stuff. So I can imagine that would be the draw here. But do you ever get people that say, oh, this is too quiet, or there's not enough going on?
You know, not so much, just for the reason being is like during summer we can be that kind of vibrant beach scene to a certain extent. I mean, we don't have like theme parks or anything like that on the ocean, and you know, but we definitely have festivals and cultural festivals, like Puerto Rican Festival moved out to the beach, which is really nice. There's like Reggae Fest for music, and it definitely draws a crowd. So if you like that but don't like it all the time, like we have that. But if you like it all the time, there's beaches up and down Florida that offer nonstop go.
And it's accessible. I mean, if
For
you
sure.
lived here, I mean, we've gone on down to Titusville to do the bioluminescence kayaking, and
People think Florida from Jacksonville to Miami is 10 hours. It's not. It's like 5.5, 6 hours. So
yeah, it's not that bad.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah, we were just at Jensen Beach. Knew nothing about that area. Well, I'd heard about Hutchinson Island, but not Jensen Beach.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that was like so far away, but I don't know. It took us like 3.5 hours, I think, to get down there. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And oh my goodness, I felt like I was in an entirely different place. I loved it. It was, I did a podcast about that exact experience.
Yeah.
And that is my goal, is to visit different beaches around the state.
There you go.
And kind of talk about it and report back.
We definitely have, throughout Florida, we have our pockets of beaches. And it's not all, like, the further you go south, it's not always busy. Like, there's always a pocket of a small town that you could definitely find and essentially plant your roots there if you wanted to. It doesn't always, like, people think of Florida as Miami or Tampa, like these big cities. It's not. You have to really dig deep, take a drive, and just explore. And going back to, the person I meet at the restaurant that wants to start their roots here, you have to take time to explore, because Jack's Beach may be the perfect fit, or we might find another gem further south or on the west coast of Florida. So there's opportunities everywhere, and it's all accessible, which is great. Like, Florida's pretty nice as far as accessing. Here in Jack's Beach, we're 2 hours from Orlando, we're 5 hours from Miami, 4 hours from Tampa. So it's really all accessible. I mean, the Keys, we could be there in 6.5, 7 hours, and that's a paradise of its own.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's all right there. And then if we wanted to get crazy and go to the mountains like we're doing in a couple days with all our kids, that's 6 hours away. So there's definitely,
well, that's true. Yeah.
So you get a little bit of everything. And then the further you go down, like towards the middle of Florida and Orlando, like, we're fortunate enough to have springs and rivers and things that you could definitely take advantage of that are also just as beautiful as the beach.
Yeah.
So you definitely get variety of nature.
And I think that's what the beach is speaking to us, is that beauty in nature and that serenity and calm. I'm thinking you really don't have to live a few blocks from the beach to really enjoy that. I mean, you can live outside of this area, and you've got the beach.
Yeah, it's all accessible.
It's not like I can't afford to live at the beach. Well, maybe not right away but like you said, there are ways to get around that.
Definitely.
And
I mean, even and like I mentioned before, you want to be creative and get familiar with the locations and different spots. Even if you come down here and rent a place for a year and just test it out and say, okay, I'm in Jack's Beach, but I live close to Neptune and Atlantic. Neptune or Atlantic might be a better fit. Or, you cruise down an hour south and you find another pocket that's just as beautiful as Jack's Beach, maybe a little bit more quiet, that you like. It gives you that opportunity to kind of explore. So even that option of renting is a possibility. You're one step closer to your beach dream, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Alex, for coming over, walking down the street.
Absolutely.
Sitting in the living room and having a chat with me.
We're a stone's throw away.
I know. That's another thing that I really loved about this neighborhood. For you listeners, when we were first living here, we lived in Alex's house.
Yeah.
We rented it from him. And then you all wanted to move back in.
Exactly.
And we thought, oh man, where are we going to live? And I said to Ernie, I don't want to go anywhere. It has to be in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to be by the family, the kids, and all of that. But it just felt like home.
For sure.
And we wanted a corner lot and something that had some space that maybe we could add on or put another structure. And lo and behold, literally down the street, around the corner.
Yeah.
there it was.
No, it was amazing.
I know.
It was awesome.
That was a miracle.
Yeah. And what's great about that is like it was like perfect timing at the same time. Like even with the market and how it just all works itself out, like it worked for you guys. It could definitely work for, someone else that's considering moving down here. Don't be scared. Don't hesitate. It's just, you just got to do it. You just got to let the beach obviously speak to you and draw you to your destination.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to end it for now.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Well,
This was awesome.
Thank you. This was fun.
I'll have to come back.
Yes. Make the trip.
Awesome.
We'll have to report back on our trip to the Georgia mountains.
Yeah, with how many kids now? 3, 5, almost 6 kids.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Oh, Alex, thank you so much. I look forward to another time that we talk.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
The beach is speaking. Are you listening? Okay, beach lover. How do you feel about moving to the beach now? I hope that after hearing Alex talk about the people he's helped move to the beach, you'd feel like you could do it too. Or at least you get a sense of what's possible. What really resonated with me was the story he told about the 82-year-old who was determined to live at the beach, and that he found a way to make it happen. And I was immediately taken back in time to when my parents did the same thing. And because this episode was about moving to the beach, I wanted to share with you something about my move. And after thinking about it a while on a beach walk, I heard, "Tell the story about the piano." Who knew the beach would speak to me through a piano? So many people I talk to about moving to the beach say they want to, they just can't see it happening. If that's you, what's holding you back? Go to my website, The Beach Speaks. There's a link in the show notes, and tell me about it. Let's keep the conversation going. The beach and I are here for you, and we're listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Beach Speaks. If you liked what you heard, share the podcast with another beach lover. And speaking of sharing, I want to know how the beach is speaking to you. To record a message, just go to my website, thebeachspeaks.com, click the voicemail button, it's super easy, and I'll play it on the show. And if more beach is what you crave, visit thebeachspeaks.com or follow The Beach Speaks on Facebook and Instagram, where I post all my gorgeous sunrise photos and videos. It's another way for you to reconnect with the beach, return to your soul, and reimagine your life. The beach is speaking. Are you listening?